All right, hello, Mrs. Doe. My name is Mr. Hendershot. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
What I have here are your child's scores for the Woodcock Johnson. This is a academic achievement test. And what I'm going to go over next are your student standard scores and where they would fall onto a bell curve. Now, do you have any questions about this bell curve?
Well, I've never seen one before, so basically it looks like it has average, below average, above average scoring.
Yeah, exactly. The standard score, where it falls on the bell curve, will tell us whether your child is average, below average, or above average in that area.
Okay, so you've highlighted the average area.
Yeah, the area here would be all scores that fall within the average range.
Okay.
All right, so your child's first score that we have here is reading, in which he got a score of 89. So 89 would be just above below average. The lowest score to fall in the average range is 85, and he got an 89, which places him roughly right there.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad.
It's within average range.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a little bit below grade level. We would expect, your son's 14 years, 10 months. We would expect a child at 11 months, or excuse me, 11 years and 9 months to be reading at that level. So he's slightly below his age level in reading.
Okay.
Okay, next score is broad reading, which is just a very basic sub-test for reading. It just kind of tests basic comprehension of single words and small clusters. And he has a score of 87, so very similar to his broad reading score. Again, within the average range, but it's going to be low average.
Okay.
Next score we have here are mathematics. Now, mathematics I've highlighted because mathematics, your student would fall below average because he has a standard score of 80. Remember we said earlier that 85 was the minimum for average range.
Right.
So he's going to be 5 points below that. So he would fall below average in general mathematics as compared to students his age. Do you have any questions about that other than the fact that you know he's below average in math?
No, not necessarily not at this point.
Okay, so we're going to keep going through these scores here. If at any point you have a question, please stop me and I'll address it, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we just did math. Broad mathematics, 85. So he falls right on that below average. Or excuse me, that average range. He's at the lowest end of the average range.
Okay.
For math calculation skills, slightly higher. He's at 90. Okay, so not everything is below average.
Yeah.
Next we have, we're actually going to move away from math and on to written language. He has a score of 93. So 93 falls within the average range. Again, it's closer to low average, but
Right.
nothing that we wouldn't expect from any child of your age and in his grade level. Moving on, broad written expression, 92. Written expression, 93. Again, all right there in that. All these written scores are kind of clustered in the same area within average limits. Low average, but still average.
Okay.
Academic skills, 88. So that again puts them slightly above, or with, excuse me, I shouldn't say it that way. Falls within average limits, but closer to low average. Next we have academic fluency with a score of 90. So we're average, closer again to the lower end, but within average limits. Next we have academic applications. Now academic applications, he got a score of 84, which is 1 point below average. So he falls within below average in his academic applications.
Okay, so can you explain to me a little more what that means?
Yeah, it's a cluster, a combination of subtests. So it's passage comprehension. So when asked to read a short passage, it's also a combination of applied problems and writing samples. Now I think passage comprehension is pretty clear, writing samples is clear, applied problems might not be quite as clear.
Okay.
Applied problems are a subtest that measures a student's ability to analyze and solve math problems. The initial items require application of simpler number concepts, and the majority of items require a student to listen to the problem, recognize the mathematical procedure that must be followed, and perform the appropriate calculations. That's what academic applications would be. Okay, next we have brief achievement and broad achievement, scores of 86 and 87. So how he performs on smaller clusters and bigger clusters, within average limits, but closer to low average.
Okay, so are we still talking about mathematical or
That would be a combination of mathematics and written and reading.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. Okay, I'm going to move on along here. Letter word identification, got a score of 90. So as you can see, as I'm making all these marks here, they're all kind of getting clustered around the those 85 to 90 scores.
Yes, I see.
Applied problems, 79. So again, that's a little bit lower, and we went over what applied problems were just a moment ago. Spelling, 93. Yeah, again, I could put a line here, but you get an idea. We're all kind of in this range. Passage comprehension, 88. So again, just above that line of below average. Calculations, math calculations, 84, so that would put him below average. Writing samples, 94. Sentence reading fluency, 87. Again, within the average limits, but we're closer to low average. Math facts fluency, 97, so a slightly higher score there than we've seen in some of the other categories. So he shows some relative strength in some areas of math, and in other areas he struggles more. Sentence writing fluency, a score of 93. So that would place him right about there. Okay, and then just one last thing I want to go over before we're done is the AE column here. This is the age equivalency of a student performing at this level. So your son is 14 years, 10 months. We would expect students to be performing at his level when they're at these ages.
Yes.
11 years, 9 months, 11 years, 4 months, 10 years and 3 months. So if you want to take a minute or a second just to look at those, just kind of give you an idea of how your child's performing compared to students his age.
Yeah. No, I see.
Okay, do you have any further questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great.
So, okay.
Thank you for taking the time to come in today.
Okay, thank you.